And now it's my pleasure to introduce our first panel of the morning. The title of that is The Path to the Marketplace. You don't have to do it alone. And in this one, we've flipped this around a little bit. I'd like to introduce our moderator, Hanna Haponenko. Sorry, Hanna, and who her company or the company she's involved in, which would be Axcessiom Technologies, is actually been a client of both the Durham and Hamilton RTDS. And so Hanna is a PhD candidate at McMaster in the human cognitive and perception area. And she's also involved in Axcessiom Technologies in the product design and operations. And Axcessiom is developing driver-assisted systems using facial gestures to activate vehicle functions such as windshield wipers, turn signals, so that drivers with disabilities can gain confidence and independence on the road. So Hanna, welcome to the stage, and you're welcome to introduce your panel and moderate it. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Chris. What a lovely introduction. So before we introduce our panelists, I would like to show a really, really awesome video. Hi again. So I'm Hanna. I'll be the moderator for the panel today. I'm a PhD candidate studying human cognition and perception, and I joined a startup called Axcessiom Technologies a few years ago. We are developing a device, a facial gesture recognition device that helps drivers with disabilities activate functions in their car, like windshield wipers, turn signals, with simple facial expressions like smiles and winks. We've been closely connected with AVEN at a couple of the RTDSs over the past few years. I'd love to introduce you to some of these amazing individuals. Let's welcome Sherry Colbourne, Richard Dunda, and Ed Dawson. Hi, everyone. So let's welcome Sherry Colbourne first. Please introduce yourself. Oh, Sherry, I think you're muted. Oh, good. Awesome.
You know, the classic phrase for everybody on virtual, right? Your mic is muted. Yeah, thank you, Hanna. And my name, of course, Sherry Colbourne. I'm the president and CEO of Spark Center. Spark Center is one of 17 regional innovation centers in the province of Ontario. And more importantly, we are one of 6 members of the consortiums called the Regional Technology Development Sites for the provincial network called AVEN, the Autonomous Vehicle Innovation Network. And I mean, like that video, I love that video. Just gets your heart pumping. Great way to kind of get into the, well, we're more than into the day, but like get into the day, really get into it. And, you know, what Spark does within the Durham RTDS, our consortium, is we really, we're the people that help companies like yourself, Hanna, with the business side of developing your product and getting out into the market. And that's enough about me. I'm going to turn over to Richard.
Thanks, Sherry. And as Sherry mentioned, CITM, like the Spark Center and the Durham RTDS, is one of 6 regional technology development sites under Ontario's AVEN program. At CITM, we're located in Hamilton, and we focus on integrated, as the video said, integrated transportation and mobility, multimodal transportation. So, and we offer, as you'll hear later on through this process and panel, we offer a bunch of services and pretty unique elements to help companies that are interested in developing technology in this space work with us and get their companies off the ground, including Hanna's company, Axcessiom. And for myself, I'm the exec director there, and I'm looking forward to continuing on and working with companies that want to work in this space for the next few years. And with that, I will introduce Ed Dawson, who is head of the center in Windsor.
Thanks, Richard. Good afternoon, everyone. Ed Dawson. I'm the Senior Manager of Automobility and Innovation at Invest WindsorEssex. So we are the regional technology development site leads here for part of the AVEN network, but we also are the regional economic development agency in the WindsorEssex region. And we have partners such as our Regional Innovation Center, WeTech Alliance, our University of Windsor, St. Clair College, and some trade associations that work with us to support our network and to support the WindsorEssex Regional Technology Development Site. So very excited about today's panel discussion with our partners in Durham and Hamilton, and invite everyone now to come back to the stage.
Thank you, everyone, for your fabulous introductions. Now, before we dive in, we were introduced to AVEN this morning, RTDS. We heard Chris throughout the day, but for any newcomers here, Richard, do you think you can explain what AVEN is and what an RTDS does before we start talking? Acronyms can get lost in translation sometimes.
Sure. AVEN, or the Autonomous Vehicle Innovation Network, is, as Rod said this morning, funded by the Ministry of Economic Development to try to spur innovation in the transportation and automotive sectors. So they do a number of programs, one of which is the Regional Technology Developments Program. So think of that as their outreach program to get to entrepreneurs where they are working in their various regions. Each RTDS kind of has a different area of focus. So we all collaborate and work together. We don't all do the same things, except for probably business consulting services. And then AVEN has a couple of other programs as well that are available to RTDS participants, right? Grant programs, they produce insights reports, and hold a couple of forums a couple of times a year to try to engage the community and build an ecosystem around this technology, these areas of technology in Ontario. So it's pretty fun, pretty exciting. You get to work in the vehicle space, but in the smart mobility space, as you heard Mara talk about earlier, to define that, and there's all kinds of stuff going on in this space.
Let's talk about one of the focus points of all of the RTDSs. So how about Sherry, can you tell us a little bit more about what the Durham RTDS does?
Sure. So Durham has been focused mainly on the human, vehicle interface. You can imagine that as the world becomes more populated with autonomous vehicles, those vehicles have to coexist with, of course, vulnerable users, as well as, just pedestrians and other people that would be utilizing the roadways. And so we have been predominantly focused on understanding that interface. And we have a number of assets within Durham region that aid us in doing that kind of examination. We have at the Ontario Tech University, we have the ACE Center, which is the Automotive Center of Excellence, a fabulous climatic chamber that allows, founders, startups, scientists, innovators to test in a very real experience, roadways under various climatic conditions, blistering sun, snow, sleet, a number of different ways in which the vehicles have to operate safely. And we also have Durham College, who's one of our other consortium members at Durham, who focuses on, AI and the interaction with AI and cybersecurity across that interface, between the human and autonomous vehicle interface. So that's really kind of the unique assets that are in Durham region. Of course, we have, fabulous professors and, innovators and advisors, just like the other ones do as well. But that's really the essence of what ours is and how we're a little bit different.
Thanks for sharing. I'm personally very excited to see how people with disabilities will start using autonomous vehicles. That lies close to my heart. So it's amazing that Durham is looking into that. Okay, how about Ed? Maybe a little bit of detail about the Windsor RTDS, please.
Sure, thanks, Hannah. So in WindsorEssex, I think one of our biggest pieces, we sit at the busiest commercial border crossing between Canada and the United States. And that's why part of our focus is cross-border technologies, and the other piece is cybersecurity, automotive cybersecurity specifically. Along the path and along the way, when we put in our AVEN application, we knew that you can't just go and test at a border, for example. There are too many regulations and security measures in place. And so at the beginning of the video, you can see that was our VR cave. So we're very proud that the VR cave plays an integral role in what we offer in WindsorEssex. So it's dubbed as Canada's largest VR cave that was designed specifically for connected autonomous vehicle technologies. And so essentially it offers an environment with Barco equipment, so high definition 4K projectors, really high powered computers, and it creates a mosaic effect. And then we're powered by ANSYS VR experience software. And so what our biggest offering in WindsorEssex is to allow SMEs, startups, even academia to be able to use this equipment, of course, at no cost, thanks to the AVEN program, and to be able to support testing of these technologies, because we know that, like our friends and our partners in the other RTDSs, to be able to do simulation testing will only complement the live testbed work that's taking place. And so just one of the examples that we're excited about is when we think about the border crossing, we are about to unveil the first digital twin of an international border crossing, the Windsor-Detroit Tunnel. And that will allow us to have a high fidelity model that's accurate to within millimeters that will deploy in the cave. And so if there is a company that's looking to test any type of vehicle technology or other technologies related to border crossings, then we can simulate it within the VR cave. And so that's our biggest piece in WindsorEssex. Of course, like the other sites, we offer business advisory services. We can offer soft landing spaces and connections to our academic partners. But the VR cave is really what we're most proud of. And we feel that we can really help SMEs within Ontario by being able to offer some testing here.
Axcessiom might hit you up on that offer that you're throwing out, because
I hope so.
We actually wanted to go to the Windsor-Detroit Tunnel, but then like you said, like at the border, so it's not really easy to beta test there. We wanted to see whether our facial expressions could work inside a tunnel. So that's 5,160 feet of digital tunnel that you have. So we might be giving you a call soon.
Excellent.
All right, thanks so much, Ed. So Richard, you mentioned CITM has a smart mobility network. Can you talk more about what that offers entrepreneurs?
Sure. Thanks, Hannah. Yeah, at CITM, we have what we call the Smart Mobility R&D Network, and there's really four components to that network. First layer is connectivity. So you can get on our network, so it's a private enterprise network, right? Not public. This is an R&D spectrum. So you need to get your modems to connect to that from CITM, both 4G connectivity, 5G connectivity, as well as fiber connectivity. It's located in 3 separate areas in the city of Hamilton. Completed, 1 is under construction. 1 is on a city street in the city of Hamilton that traverses 3 separate intersections. So it's a mix of commercial and industrial traffic, pretty heavily traveled. Second is in what we call, that's the urban test environment. The second is the office park environment, which is located at McMaster Innovation Park. So you get public roads and parking lots, lower density traffic, but still a stoplight, but not the density of commercial traffic that you do in the urban one. And the third environment that's being constructed is what we call the campus environment, which is located at Mohawk College. Some Master and Mohawk are our key education partners in Hamilton, and it gives you a ring road as well as another kind of parking lot environment. And what's unique about that one is Mohawk has a transportation engineering graduate program, so there's some integration with the college at that level as well. And as Ed and Sherry both said, business advisory services. We do offer some business development services at CITM to try to kind of help high potential clients. Right? One of the key challenges, Hanna, as you know, is getting a pilot implementation. So we try to expedite that process and help marry a new company that's kind of ready to scale with industry partners.
It's quite the feat that CITM is undertaking, retroactively fitting a city to allow for a new technology like autonomous vehicles to take over. I don't envy you. I don't envy your job.
That's something you do over lunch. Oh, I forgot to mention, so now that all these sensors are up and deployed, I forgot 2 things. One, we also have V2X capability at CITM, meaning that on a couple of pieces of the network, there's V2X, cellular and DSRC, and we can give you the onboard unit to put in your vehicle. So you can take the data from the vehicle and get it to communicate into the network, right? And all of that is integrated into something we call the Smart Data Repository, Smart Mobility Data Repository. So if you're just looking for the data and you're not looking to test, and you're trying to do pattern recognition or AI or that machine learning and that kind of stuff, we can offer you access to the Smart Data Repository. And I'm going to do a gratuitous plug here. On November 16th, we have a virtual open house, right? So if you want to know a lot more about what we are and who we have and what our partners are, please feel free to attend the open house. There's no cost. And again, it's virtual, so you don't have to drive to Hamilton. And we'll do some show and tell on that day.
Amazing. Appreciate the plug. All right. Thanks for all that info, Richard. Okay. So Sherry, I'd like to know a little bit more about how the Durham RTDS is different. How do you differentiate it from others in the network?
Yeah, that's a question we get on a regular basis. Our clients know, but let me try and explain it. So I think most of everybody in the audience will have heard of the Large Hadron Collider in Switzerland. I like to think of Spark as the Durham Collider. We have, one of the things that we focused on early on, since I've been with Spark, is really focusing on a global marketplace. And we've done that because we know that all of our local companies, in order to scale, need to be able to go out into the big world. And we're also interested in attracting innovators that are in the rest of the world to Durham region and to the AVEN network, so that they can bring their innovations to Ontario. So that's I think that's a core piece of what differentiates us. We have hundreds of international founders in some way, shape, or form on their way to the region, and we hope to be able to share them with all of the province, so that innovation within Ontario really gains momentum. And then I guess the other thing that we do, which may sound counterintuitive to that international play, but we really are a very high touch incubator. And so we have a number of internationals that have joined us over the last few years. Our local entrepreneurs, I think, would all echo the sentiment that what we do at Spark because we are one of the smaller RICs, we're not one of the big guys, we actually have the ability to provide a very high touch environment. So clients that come to us often comment if they've been to other areas of the province or have worked with other incubators, that the differentiator for them is that we really take a very personal interest in them, and we are doing everything we possibly can to get their businesses up and really thriving and getting those connections for them. Richard hit the nail on the head. Clients, if you asked a client, in fact, one of my clients says this, I'm going to quote him. He says, "Don't give me advice, give me a deal." And that's the nature of startups. They want to close deals. They want to make revenue. They want to commercialize their product. And so that's something that we take very much to heart at Spark Center.
And thanks for mentioning Spark Center. Axcessiom is a client of Spark Center's, and I remember on the first day coming into Spark Center, we were matched up with 2 investors. That coached us, guided us, and that has been very helpful.
Yeah, Hannah, if I might just interject there, one of the things that's really interesting about Axcessiom is you guys are a really perfect example of how startups really use the network, because I know that you've also worked with Hamilton, and no doubt, I think I just heard you're probably going to be working with Windsor anytime soon. So, from my perspective, that's the beauty of the AVEN network, is that we are all part of a bigger provincial innovation network, but we're also part of this, I'll call it the microcosm of AVEN, and we collaborate immensely, hence why we're all here together today. So thank you for being a client of more than one.
There's definitely a holistic perspective happening, and I think it's the only way that we as a country, even just a province, can really make change. Really appreciate that, Sherry. Thank you. Okay, so for an early startup like Axcessiom, it's often very difficult to overcome the obstacles of making a product when we have a really thin wallet to pay our employees. CITM, for instance, has helped us immensely when they paired us up with a software engineering team from Mohawk College. The team worked with us to build a remote webcam capture system, and it was the perfect tool for acquiring facial data remotely during our pandemic. The team developed crucial skills, and also each earned a credit for their 3rd-year course, and then we got the help we needed without breaking the bank. Win-win. Can anyone here tell everyone here about a little bit more about how your organizations and how your networks help companies such as mine? Do we have another example here?
Richard, you look like you were unmiked there. I was going to say, go for it.
Hannah, can you do the question one more time quickly?
Yeah, for sure. So you've helped Axcessiom a lot, right? CITM has helped us a lot. Any other examples, like the example I threw out about the Mohawk College collaboration that we did?
Yeah. From a client's perspective, using multiple RTDSs.
Yes, exactly.
Sure. We have a couple of clients. One we just did a promotional piece on called Iris. That they're not early stage. They're a bit later stage now, but just ready to grow. But so they needed access to the network. They have a pilot with the city of Hamilton, but their technology is also AI. Right, and one of the things that Mars does is have a depth of expertise in AI, so they work collaboratively with some of the experts at Mars to try to help develop their product. And we have a couple of other partners that access other RTDSs as well. Companies that have worked with Communitech. Iris has also worked with Communitech because they have a data concierge program that's really particular to them and their services as an RTDS. I've referred people to the Cave in Windsor because of what they have there, and the wind tunnel in Ace because of what they have there. And I know we've taken clients from other RTDSs that want access to the CITM Smart Mobility Network or the data that's available there.
Amazing.
Sorry, I'll just finish. So we're all in planning for sort of the next phase of what we're all going to do. So this was birthed 4 or 5 years ago, and we had to all get our centers up and off the ground, and now we're all up and off the ground, and there's a much better collaborative environment to go, okay, what can we really do together to get this thing to scale? So it's pretty interesting being involved in phase 2 planning with everybody that's on the screen right now and a couple of others as well.
Very excited for the future. Ed, Sherry, any notable examples that either of you would like to share?
I'll jump in really quickly. I think, and this is obviously related to Sherry and the team in Durham. So Cavaris is one of the examples that I'd like to bring up. Joel Nascimento. So he's been a very good supporter of both RTDSs and sought the services of both sites. And, he's working with us, of course, in the VR cave. And we're trying to not only do some testing, virtual testing using the simulation software, but we're also thinking of how do we create a new repository of Canadian assets, because some of the assets that we have include, other test tracks that are in Europe. And so we need more Canadian content. So we're trying to develop a bit of a database to ensure that as you're doing simulation testing on North American style roadways, specifically in Canada, that the assets are going to be relatable and what we need here. So that's one example that I'll bring up. And I think, just to echo Richard, as we look towards the future in OVIN, I think that there's going to be much more increased collaboration and really helping SMEs move from site to site to gain more services and more help.
And speaking of gaining more services, more help, my last question, I'll throw this out to you, Sherry, the Durham Collider. So if any of the companies in the audience want to gain access to these services and networks that we've talked about to help their business, what should they do next? What steps should they take?
So I think the most expeditious way to figure a little bit more about the AVIN network and how we all play together is really to go to the AVIN website. On that website, there is a listing of all of us as RTDSs and kind of what our sweet spot is. And I would say this, pick the place that you believe most aligns with what you need now, because rest assured, it's an evolution. Your business is going to go through an evolution. And so, what you need this minute won't be what you need 6 months from now. And the beauty of this network is we are all in collaboration with one another. So, if you dropped into Spark and Spark sort of became your home hub, I'll call it, if we do an assessment and decide, what you really need before you start, doing simulating your product within the East Center, you need to go and see Ed or Richard. We would refer off immediately, and then they would go and do the work they need to do with whatever RTDS is needed for the best support of that client, and then they come back when they're necessary. But that's the beauty of the network.
Amazing. Richard, Ed, anything to add before we wrap up? In terms of...
If you're interested in engaging, I'm pretty sure all of us have a general email alias like info at the session, and I'm absolutely positive all of us have an intake process on our various websites that you need to register to get into our systems. But all of that, everybody has a how we help section, and you can engage there. And happy to take a phone call and email or anytime coming out of this.
Awesome. Yeah, I encourage anyone to just take that first step. A few years ago, Axcessiom did not know if we fit into this space, and lo and behold, seems like we do. We've made some excellent progress with the RTDSs. All right, so we're done with this panel for today. Thank you so much, Sherry, Richard, and Ed. I will welcome Chris back on stage. Thank you.
Great.
Thanks, everyone.